let's discuss fake antique bottles. So on the internet, and also in some stores, you'll find bottles that look like they're really old when they're really not. It's a little bit difficult to tell the difference. These two are probably from the 60s, and they are made to look like they have some kind of medical snake oil remedy from the 18 or early 1900s. This pretty green one says Cathedral brand, but when you flip it over, it says it's made in Taiwan, which is not where they would have been making bottles in the early 1900s or late 1800s. This one's a little hard to read on camera, but it says Straubeller's Elixir, Tree of Life since 1880. So this one is clearly even more overtly trying to evoke like an old-timey sort of sense. People who don't know what they're looking for will often see these and think that they're actually really old. And I mean, at this point, given that they're probably from the 60s or 70s, they are like medium old, but they're not antique. So if you do see them in a store, don't go paying a lot of money for them. Maybe like $5 or $10 at most. You can actually get authentically old bottles for a similar price. For example, this bottle of Foss liquid fruit flavors from Portland, Maine. This bottle is actually from the early 1900s. It was dug up in a pit, and that's when all of the garbage around it was from. And so it is pretty reasonably authentic. This bottle, just, you know, being a small bottle, even though it's much older than these, would actually only cost you probably a couple dollars at a flea market, up to maybe 8 to 10 at an antique store. So there's nothing technically wrong with collecting the newer bottles if you think that they look good, but if you want truly 100-plus-year-old bottles, then just make sure you know what you're looking for. Another thing to watch out for is replica labels. So this bottle is an actual original bottle as far as I can tell, but the label has been reprinted and reapplied to the bottle because the seller is kind enough to actually say that it's a copy label in their description. I don't know if it's worth that much, but it is a bottle in nice condition. But some sellers will not tell you explicitly that the label is not original to the bottle, so be very aware of that and keep an eye out for bottles that look too good. This one also has a replica label, and the bottle itself is authentic, but in the title of the listing, the seller just has copy label written in along with all of the other words, so it can be a little hard to miss. Another thing that's a little harder to see, especially on screen, and especially looking through my phone camera into my computer screen, is that the print quality on the labels that they put on is really variable. This one seems a little better, but it often turns out that if you were to see this bottle in person, the label would look like it was printed on a contemporary printer and not accurate to the period. Which, if you don't mind that, then that's cool. I mean, your collection is based on what you like personally. So if you think that it looks good, then that's totally fine, but just be aware that you're not getting something authentic. On the other hand, there are some bottles that do have their original labels, but it is hard to tell. Personally, bottles with labels, I find it difficult to buy them on the internet. I want to see them and hold them personally. But, for example, I think that this Cobalt bottle, I think that the label is original to the bottle and it's authentic. This is based on the wear patterns being kind of natural and in weird places that, like, maybe if you were trying to sell a really good bottle, you wouldn't damage the middle of the label. Or maybe you might, but the discoloration is also pretty telling because this was not acid-free paper or glue that was used on this bottle, so it would cause discoloration in the label. And for one more example of a fake, everybody loves to put weed in the medicines. It's very trendy. These labels are not real. The seller does say here that the labels are handcrafted, but they only say it in the condition.